right, good morning, everybody. So just go ahead and find that comfortable seated position if you want to grab onto that block. Elevate those hips. All right, I hope you guys can hear me. Okay, let's again get started in that seated position. So, okay, just sitting nice and tall. If you want to bring the bottoms of the feet together, get a little bit more stretch through those inner thighs, you can, or if you want to do legs crossed a little bit more traditional, that's fine too. Okay, just rest the hands on the knees, closing down those eyes, sitting up nice and tall. Just beginning to focus on that breath. That really big breath in through the nose. Filling those lungs, you'll feel that expansion of the rib cage. Be a little bit of stretch, those muscles in between the ribs. And exhale all of that breath out. And tighten your core a little bit to really press all of the air out. And then take that big breath in, filling those lungs. And pressing all of that air out. Again, big breath in. And exhale it out. Just a couple more of those on your own. Focusing on that breath. Just bring yourself to this calm, quiet space. And then we'll inhale, reach those arms out to the sides. And if you're on that block, it might be a little bit harder to touch. We're just gonna drop that left ear down towards that left shoulder. That right hand can reach out a little bit further. And then bring that head up. We'll just drop it over to that other side. Inhale, we'll bring it back up. And we'll drop that ear down. Now, if you want to take that opposite hand, just pull that shoulder down. Gives you a little bit more stretch through that neck. And then go and release it. We'll go to the other side. So drop that head down. Just grabbing on kind of to that, the muscle, kind of right between the shoulder and the neck. And then bring that head back up, reaching those arms up overhead. We're gonna find a side stretch over to that right side. So the left arm is gonna reach up and over, maybe gazing up underneath that arm, keeping the core tight, shoulders are stacked. So again, this arm, if you wanna get a little deeper stretch, just walk that bottom hand out a little bit further and then soften into that elbow. So we wanna avoid rolling those shoulders forward. And inhale it back up. We'll go to the other side. So reaching that right arm up and over as we find that side bend. And making sure you're not leaning into that left hip. We want to press that right hip down into the mat. One more breath. And we'll reach those arms back up as we twist it over to that right side. So sitting tall on that inhale. Exhale a little deeper into that twist. Inhale it back to center. Reach those arms up. And exhale, twist it to that other side. Again, inhaling up nice and tall. And exhale that twist. Good, bring it back to center. We're gonna roll over onto those hands and knees, so that tabletop position. So bringing those hands to stack right underneath the shoulders, and the knees are gonna be right underneath the hips. On that inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest, lift the tailbone as we look up. And exhale, round that spine, press the shoulder blades away, draw that belly up and in, rounding from the neck all the way down through that tailbone. And inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest, lift the tailbone as we look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. One more time. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, round. Okay, now bring it back to that neutral spine. We're going to curl all 10 toes under. So it's like we're going to be sitting on our toes, not on the tops of the feet, okay? See the difference there? Now we're just going to start to press those hips back to the heels. You might start to find that stretch to the bottoms of the feet and the toes just in this position. And if it's a pretty big stretch and you feel like you want to stay here, you can, okay? Or maybe start to walk those hands back, coming all the way up with that spine stacked right over those hips. Pressing those hands on the knees, closing down the eyes. The biggest things here is noticing those ankles. We don't want those ankles bowing out to the side. We want them, keeping them pulled in more towards that midline of the mat. Just go for 3 more breaths. Big breath in, big breath out. 2 more times. Good, and soften those hands down. And just gently tap or wiggle those toes, just whatever feels good. Good, now from here, we're gonna keep those hips nice and high. We're just gonna slide those hands forward, so gripping those fingertips into the mat, softening that forehead down, and maybe that chest makes its way down towards the mat, and then you can flip and lower the chin down. Really strong and aggressive, or strong and active through those hands, pulling those forearms towards each other as we melt that chest down. So big stretch through those shoulders, maybe that upper back. Good, now from here, we're gonna slide forward onto that forearm plank, stepping those feet back, squeezing those legs together, pulling that chest forward, drawing that belly up and in. We'll go for 3, 2, and 1. Soften those hips down. Point those toes, going into that Sphinx pose. So drawing those elbows back as we lift up through the crown of the head. And then we'll soften it down. Hands will come underneath those shoulders. We're gonna press back to kneeling, okay? Then reaching those arms up overhead. We're gonna find a side bend, again, over to that right side. Inhale, we'll bring it back up. We'll go exhale to the other side. And inhale, reaching those arms back up. And then exhale, we'll lower those hands down, sliding it forward into that puppy pose. So again, really gripping with those fingers and those palms. Melt that head down. And slide it forward to our forearm plank. So you can be on the toes, or maybe you lower those knees down towards the mat. Now, if your knees are down, just stay here. But if you're on the toes, I bring the feet a little bit wider. Just gonna drop the heels over to the right side. Bring it back to center. Drop the heels to the left side. Bring it back to center. And then lower those hips down. Point the toes. Draw those elbows back. And soften it down. Press. And come back to kneeling. Reaching those arms up. We'll bend it to that right side. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale it to the left side. Inhale, reach it back up. Then lower those hands down as we come into the puppy pose. Soften those forearms down as we come into that forearm plank. If you want, drop the heels to the right and center, to the left and center. Lower those hips down. Point the toes. Drawing those elbows back. And from here, relax it down, press it back into that child's pose. So toes together, knees can come as wide as you would like. Just softening that chest in between those legs. Just a couple really big breaths in and slow, controlled exhales out. And then come back up onto those hands and knees. So readjust those knees so they're right underneath those hips. Hands are underneath the shoulders. We're gonna draw that right leg out, flex that foot, point the toes down, okay? We're gonna hug that knee into the nose, rounding through the spine. Pressing that leg straight back. Good, exhale, curl it in. Inhale, reach it back. Last time, curl it in. Good, send that leg out. Now we're gonna swing that leg over to that right side. So you wanna plant your foot down, okay? Toes are pointing forward, so the feet are parallel to the mat. Now, if you need to bend, bring a slight bend into that right knee, you can, but just press those hips back just a little bit to start. Inhale it back up. Good. Exhale, press it back a little further. Inhale it back up. Then exhale, pressing those hips back. Maybe you bring the hips all the way back to that heel. You just want to keep a nice flat spine, okay, wherever you might be. One more breath. And we'll bring it back up, sending that leg back. And then we're going to bring that foot across to the other side of the mat. Okay, so it's crossing over the left leg. We're planting that right hand down, keeping the core tight. As we twist, reaching that left arm up, little bit of balance. Move slow. Okay, then we'll thread that arm under reach and then send it back up. Thread it through. Good. Reach it back up and lower the hand down, sending that leg back. Then finding that balance, we reach that left arm forward, curl that knee in, touching the elbow to the knee. Good. Inhale, reach it out nice and long. Exhale, curl it in. Inhale, reach. Last time, curl it in. Inhale, extend it back out and lower that hand down. If you need a few more rounds of cat-cow, go for it. Good. Now back to that neutral spine. We're going to send that left leg back. So again, flex that foot, point those toes down. Curl just that knee to the nose. Inhale, press it back out. Exhale, curl it in. Inhale, press it back out. And then swing that leg around, lowering that foot down. And keep that flat back. Pressing the hips back. Bring it back up. Good. Send it back a little further. Bring it back up. Then exhale. Press those hips back as far as your body will allow. Holding it here, breathing. Good. And we'll bring it back up. Again, twisting. We're bringing that leg across. We plant those toes down. Abs are nice and tight. We're going to plant that left hand. Then we're going to twist. Right arm is going to reach up. Thread the arm under. And twist, reaching that arm up. And thread. Last time. Twisting, reaching. Good. Then lowering that hand down just briefly to send that left leg back. Right arm's going to reach forward. Curl it in. Touch the elbow to the knee. Inhale, reach it back out. Exhale, curl it in. And reach. And last time, curl it in. And send it back out. Lower that hand down, lower that knee down. And then you can make your way back into that child's pose. And then come back up onto those hands and knees. Okay, stepping those feet back to our plank. Okay, again, this can be done on your knees or on the toes. If you're on the toes, bringing those feet a little bit wider, we're just gonna drop the heels over to the right side. So again, if you modify, just lower that shin down. Okay, inhale to center, and then exhale to the other side. Good, center, and to the right. Center, to the left. Center, to the right. Center, to the left. We're gonna go 2 more times, each side, to the right. Center, left, center, 1 more time to the right, center, to the left, and center. Pause it, breathe for 3, 2, 1, and send those hips back to the heels for that downward facing dog. Just a slight bend in those knees, really pressing that tailbone up towards the ceiling, pressing those heels down towards the mat. And now we're gonna take that right foot, we're gonna step it through to that right thumb. That knee lowers down. Inhale, reaching those arms up overhead. So really pull that rib cage down, pull that tailbone down, pressing the hips forward. Good, now bring those hands to heart center as we twist with that left tricep across that right knee. Press, lifting in the chest, and then twist, looking over that right shoulder. Good, bring it back to center, reaching those arms up. They will straighten that front leg as we pull those toes back, lifting through that chest. And now we'll rebend into that front knee, planting that left hand, then twisting right arm reaches up. Now, if you would like the option of bending into that back knee, reaching for that foot, so that thumb is up again, grabbing onto that pinky toe side of the foot. If this is a little bit aggressive, you can always just stay here or even just staying here in this twist. Wherever you're at, we'll hold it for 3 more breaths. Good, go ahead, release it down. Go ahead and step those feet back to our down dog. We'll go to the other side, stepping that left foot through. Okay. Back knee lowers down. Inhale, reach those arms up into that lunge. So pull the rib cage down, tailbone down, press the hips forward. Arms will reach up. And now bring those hands to heart center as we twist. We're gonna hook that right tricep across that thigh. Abs or core is tight. Lift your belly off of the thighs as we find a little more twist. And then bring it back to center, reaching those arms up. And taking that big breath in. It will straighten that front leg as we pull those toes back into half splits. Nice flat back, flexing that front foot. We'll rebend into that front knee. We're gonna plant that right hand. Again, we'll twist, reaching that left arm up. If you wanna bend that back knee, reaching for that foot, keeping that twist. You wanna do that same modification that you did on that first side. Let's go for 3 more breaths. Go ahead and release that foot down. Go ahead and step it back into our downward facing dog. One more breath in down dog. And then we'll lower those knees down. We're gonna make our way into that seat. So start with that cross-legged position. And we're gonna reach those arms up overhead. We're gonna fold it forward. So lower those hands down, nice flat back, and reach those fingertips out as far as you can. Really grounding through those hips, nice and flat through the back. Now we're gonna walk those hands over to your right side. And continuing to walk those hands over, okay, planting that right hand kind of right in line with the body. We're gonna open up, reaching that left arm out and up into that side bend. And then we'll rotate it back down, walking those hands all the way over to your left side and holding it there, feeling a little bit of that stretch to the hip, the low back. And then continue to walk the hand more towards that left side in line with the body, and then open up the chest, reaching that arm up and over into that side stretch. Circle it back down, walking those hands back to center, and then sitting up nice and tall. We're gonna switch the cross of the legs, moving to that other side. So reaching the arms up, the arms up, lowering those hands down, flat back, grounding those hips down. And then we'll walk those hands over to, let's go to your left side first. And continue to walk that hand over, and then open up into that side bend. And rotate it down. We'll walk the hands to the other side. And just folding over that knee. Walking those hands a little further to that right side as we open up into that side stretch. And then rotate it back down, walk it to center. We'll pause it here for another breath. And then walking those hands back, sitting up nice and tall. Just interlace those fingers behind the back, or you can bring those the fingertips to point back, the thumbs to point forward. Sitting tall, lifting through that chest, pinching those shoulder blades together. And then go ahead and release those hands to your knees. And we'll just take a few final breaths. And a big breath in through the nose. Try to pull in as much air into those lungs as you can. And try and breathe that air out as slow as you can. Just continuing that on your own. Biggest breaths that you can take. All right, blink those eyes open. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a great weekend, and I will see you back on Monday.